Story time of how I found out my boyfriend was cheating on me with my cousin. My boyfriend and I had been together for 2.5 years. His family loved me and my family loved him and they expected us to get married. Well, last year when COVID started, we were actually in different countries, so we didn't see each other for 3 months. During those 3 months, we FaceTimed 4 times a day, and we were always texting. He happened to be quarantining in our hometown, so both of our families were in the same place. I was quarantined in a different country. One day my cousin calls me and tells me that she met a really nice guy on a dating website. I was so happy for her because she had had bad luck with guys. Every single week, her and I would catch up on the phone and she would tell me how much she liked this guy, and how amazing their dates were, and how amazing he was in bed, how sweet and considerate he was. I couldn't be happier for her. Well, when I finally get back home, my boyfriend is super distant and cold. So naturally, I called my cousin and complained. She told me to give him space. She said I should just leave him alone. And so like an idiot, I did leave him alone. One day my cousin calls me and tells me to come over for dinner. When I got there, my boyfriend's car was parked in her garage. I thought it was just her nice way of trying to get us to talk. I walk in and catch them doing the dirty on the couch, come back for part 2. So I walk in on my cousin and my boyfriend doing the dirty on her couch. They quickly get up from the couch and get dressed. Of course, by that time, I'm in hysterics. I'm crying and yelling. My boyfriend instantly got on his knees and begged me for forgiveness. I went up to my cousin and I punched her right in the face. She wasn't expecting that. And I said, well, this is the guy that you've been dating, isn't it? She said yes, and that she was just trying to find the best way to tell me. And so she just thought the best way to tell me was to get me to walk in on her and him doing the dirty. I punched her again. My boyfriend came to her rescue though. Instantly went into hero mode, which made me even angrier, so I punched him too. I stormed out of her house and went back to my house. Well, I told my parents everything. And my dad went over to my uncle's house, my cousin's dad, and he told him everything. She was about to turn 19, so he took away her phone and her car. And I get a phone call from my ex, come back for part 3. Part 3. So my lying, cheating ex calls me and explains to me why he actually slept with my cousin. He said that he was so lonely and that he didn't know what to do, and that the closest thing to me he could find was my cousin. Right, as if that was any comfort to me. He said I should be grateful that I didn't cheat with someone else. I told him he had totally betrayed my trust and that I could never ever trust him again. And then he confessed that she was pregnant and that his parents wanted them to get married. He said he just wanted to give me a heads up. Then he said that we could still be together but just not tell anyone, so basically he wanted me to be his side piece. I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of his mouth. It was like I didn't know this man. Guess what I did? I recorded the entire conversation. So I went straight to my cousin and I let her listen to it. She was so shocked. She couldn't believe that he would offer to have me as a side chick. Well, I also let my uncle listen to it. He went to my ex's house and beat him up. Honestly, that made me sad, but he deserved it. They now have a baby and he's gained 50 pounds. Trust your instincts, girl, and always record your conversations. Also, how cute are my nails? Story time of how my boyfriend found out I had an OnlyFans. My boyfriend and I have been together for almost 9 months and he's really jealous. He knows I'm trying to save up money to start my own business, but he claims that he can't help me because he doesn't make enough money, but he's never told me how much he actually makes. By the way, I'm 19 and he's 22. So 3 weeks ago, I was talking to my friend who has an OnlyFans and she makes a lot of money and she just said, why don't you just start an OnlyFans? I opened the account that same day, I uploaded some pictures and I started promoting it on Reddit. I made $1,000 that week. I work part-time at a shoe store and only make $10 an hour, so $1,000 for the first week was insane. I posted old bikini pics, so no nudity. I had no intention of telling my boyfriend because of how controlling and jealous he is. So basically, I would just log in through my phone browser and then log out and close the page on my phone. This way I knew that he would never be able to see anything. A few days ago, my boyfriend says, can I have your phone? I have a really bad feeling and I think I should check. I said, of course, you're not going to find anything. 2 minutes later, he shows me my phone browser history. Right there, plain to see, OnlyFans. I explained I needed the money and I didn't have help from anyone. Then he called my mom and told her. Then he called my job and told them. Then he threw my phone against the wall and broke it. He came back to my apartment yesterday and begged for forgiveness and asked if we could get back. I said yes, but I actually don't know what to do. Story time about how I found out my high school boyfriend was stalking me for weeks after we broke up. My junior year of high school, I had a super controlling and jealous boyfriend. He would get totally upset and jealous over the smallest thing, and he was so envious of my modeling and acting career. He also tried to control my social life. I couldn't have friends, and I never went out. If I had a photo shoot, he always insisted on going. My family hated the way he treated me. He was also just angry and upset all the time, so even when we hung out, it wasn't a fun time. I decided to break up with him over the phone because I knew if I did it in person, he would have made a scene. Of course, he begged me not to break up with him. I told him I just couldn't handle his jealousy and his envy. He really couldn't take no for an answer, so he would show up to my house and beg me to go for car rides with him because he just wanted to talk. I always said no because I was scared of him. I also called my family's house to see if I was there or not. One day I was driving home from school and I noticed he was right behind me. I texted him to stop following me. He said, I'm not behind you, that's not me. I literally pulled over and when I did that, he sped off. Later, he came to my house and tried to force me into his car. Come back for part 2. So my jealous and controlling ex-boyfriend shows up to my house. Mind you, he had been following me the entire day, and when I told him to stop following me, he said it wasn't him. I heard his car pull up, I went outside and I told him politely to please leave. That's when he grabbed my arm and pulled me towards his car. I opened his car door and literally tried to throw me inside the car. I put my feet up against the car and I pushed myself as hard as I could. I was not going to let him force me into that car. When he saw how hard I was fighting, he started to cry and he said, why can't we just take a ride and talk? I told him there was nothing to talk about and that he needed to just let me go. He said, you can't get rid of me that easily. Then he sped off in his car. At the time, I was working at a cafe near my my house. So I show up to my job the next day and my boss tells me to go into her office right away. She pulls up camera security footage of the restaurant and then she says, "Tell me if you recognize anyone." Guess who I see? My ex-boyfriend looking through the window 2 hours before the restaurant even opened. Then he went to his car and sat there until I arrived, and when he saw my car pull up, he left really fast. When my shift was over, I walked to my car and I can see my ex hiding behind the tree next to my car. I'm back for part 3, it's scary. My crazy jealous ex had been stalking me for days and I could see him hiding behind a tree next to my car. I run back into my job and I tell my boss right away. She calls the cops, but they say they can't come unless I've been physically threatened. The rest of the week, I noticed him following me to school and wherever I would go. Saturday comes around and I go back to my job. Once again, my boss tells me to go into her office because she has something to show me. She pulls up more camera security footage and shows me that my boyfriend had been going to my job every single day before it opened to see if I was there. And he would stay for hours waiting in his car. I felt so sick to my stomach. I get home, I tell my mom everything, and then she calls his mom. Well, his mom took his phone and his car away. It was the only way to stop him from following me. Finally, he left me alone. A few years later, I found out he became really good friends with my brother. Came home from school one summer, and he actually tried to kiss me in the kitchen several times, and I told him no. He didn't speak to me after that. Story time about how my ex caught me cheating on him. My ex was the biggest player in my college. All the girls knew him, and everyone warned me not to hang out with him. Of course, I didn't listen. He asked me to be his girlfriend, and I said yes, of course. We had been going out for a few months, but every time he would go to a frat party, I would hear from someone else that he had been cheating on me or that he was trying to hook up with other girls. When I would ask him about it, he would absolutely deny it and say that people were just trying to separate us because they were envious of our relationship. I believed him a little bit, but something told me I shouldn't. So of course I decided to check his messages, and guess what? I found a bunch of messages between him and girls that he went to class with. I confronted him and he denied everything. He said those were not his messages and that I was probably making things up. He deleted the messages before I could take screenshots. It was around the time of my birthday and I was planning a party, and I told him he couldn't come to my party because I was upset at him. I made sure to invite a friend of his to my party who I knew had a crush on me. So his friend and I got really cozy at my party. We started hanging out every single day after comeback. Part 2. So my cheating boyfriend didn't show up to my birthday party. Instead, I invited one of his friends who I knew had a crush on me. Let's call him Bob. Well, Bob and I started hanging out all the time. Behind my boyfriend's back, of course. My boyfriend and I would hang out less and less. Well, Bob started catching feelings and he asked me to break up with my boyfriend and to basically come clean to him, and I said no. I had no intention of leaving my boyfriend. I just wanted to get revenge. And honestly, it felt really good to do that. Bob got really upset because I didn't want to break up with my boyfriend, and he went off. I started hearing rumors around the school about me hooking up with Bob. My boyfriend asked me about it, and I said, I don't know where that's coming from. I haven't hooked up with anyone. My boyfriend didn't believe me. My boyfriend went to a party that night and he didn't invite me, which, of course, you know what that means. I asked Bob if we could hang out, so I went over to his place. We're on his couch kissing, and my boyfriend comes in through the door. Part 3. So while I'm hooking up with Bob on his couch, my boyfriend walks in through the door. Bob got up from the couch and went and stood next to my boyfriend. And my boyfriend just begins to say, I knew that you were cheating on me. You see, I knew it. Rumors were true. And I said, well, you've been cheating on me for months since we started dating. And Bob pipes up and says, look, I'm sorry I did this to you, but it had to be done. I slowly started to realize that I had been set up by both of them. I went back to my dorm and I didn't speak to them for a few days. My boyfriend was calling and begging me to get back with him. He said he would forgive me for the cheating if I forgave him for cheating on me. But Bob was also messaging me asking me to be his girlfriend. He said he'd never cheat on me like my boyfriend did and that he really had feelings for me. Well, I didn't get back with my boyfriend, but we're hooking up. And I'm still hooking up with Bob too, but I made a promise that he wouldn't tell my ex. I did find out that my ex cheated on me with 15 girls. And that's on toxic.